Good morning, Lois.
Good morning, Haley. Happy, I guess, almost Memorial Day in the States, so that'll be exciting. And I think probably, hopefully, many holidays throughout the globe as we celebrate spring. So
Yes.
almost summer.
Official start of the summer, summer season here in the U.S. But as you know, I live in Arizona, so it's always summer. It's always summer, almost always.
Yeah. That's right. Well, we have some exciting news at ISG because I think we've talked before about our Women in Digital Awards program for 2026, and we just closed it, and we had an overwhelming response to our awards program with over 700 nominations this year, which is a new record for us. So we want to thank everybody for our 5th year in doing the awards program, and it was a big success. So it's very exciting.
Absolutely. And I think our Women in Digital Talks listeners and audience can look forward to our 2026 winners joining us sometime in the September-October timeframe, which will be here before you know it. So.
I know. Well, before we jump too far ahead, we have a great guest today who is from our 2025 season. It's Kim Hanchet from Foundever, and maybe she can join us. Thank you for joining us. Hello. And you were an award winner from our 25 season. I think you were a Digital Innovation Award winner. So thank you so much for joining us. And you live, where do you come from, or where do we find you this morning?
I am in Devon in the southwest of the UK. So down in the bottom corner. So a very sunny and beautiful part of the country.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a chat this morning. So thanks, Haley, and we'll touch base with you. And
at the end, have a good talk.
Yep. Thank you. So Kim, you're at Foundever, which is well, I think I'll probably ask you a little bit of what Foundever does, but you're currently a senior director of people, technology, and data, where you help drive AI adoption across the company. And this is a very interesting topic today. And I think you're kind of in the crux of that because so many of us are trying to, on this fast moving train of AI, so much promise. And we're trying to figure out, one, how do we adopt it personally? But in your case, you're looking at how do you help an organization of 150,000 people adopt it effectively. So could you tell us a little bit who Foundever is? And then also, what's your approach? How are you doing that for them?
Absolutely. So for me, I guess Foundever is a global BPO, one of the biggest, in fact. We're in 40 countries. We do have 150,000 employees. And I think that brings multiple cultures, regulatory environments, and languages to the picture. So that's who we are. We provide CX experiences to our customers or to our clients. We've got about 800 of those worldwide, both with humans providing the CX and some CX solutions and technology working together to bring our brands great customer service. And yes, around AI adoption, I think for us, we're heavily into driving that. In fact, this week we're doing our AI week, which is one of our programs that we started last year. So a global event, we have 5 days of activations for all of our associates who can take part and come and join in. And we've been really driving this sort of approach of making it real, making it ours, and generally trying to open curiosity and be playful with AI in order to help kind of break down some of those fears and some of those barriers, right? I think AI adoption it's not just about tools and getting the right technology and giving it to people, but there's this huge piece around trust and openness. And it isn't really a technology problem getting AI adopted. I think it's human, and humans need that encouragement, right? And that inspiration to just try and play. And that's the thing. What we've been doing this week actually is showcasing other people, real people in the company, showing what they're doing and sharing that with other people. And that's been such a brilliant way to get everybody utilizing the tools, finding that playful attitude, wanting to be curious. And it's really, we've got some early numbers. It's looking pretty good. And I'm hoping that by the end of next week, when we kind of close out all the competitions and everything that we're doing, that we'll be able to see a marked improvement in the use of our AI tools and platforms. So yeah.
That sounds like you're treating it like a very fun. I mean, it can be, people get scared. Is it going to take my job? How is it, am I going to be way behind? And you're actually turning it into this, enjoyable, like you want to engage in it. That sounds fantastic. But I think just the way that you talked a little bit about it, and you talked about trust, I think company culture has a lot to do with that, right? The ability to, is it a punitive or a top-down, you must, or, there can be a lot of barriers in place that a company can put in that they probably don't realize that they're doing. So is there something about Foundever that you think really encourages, like something just about who you are that you have found to be a real catalyst to this? And what is that they do?
Yeah, I think culture is definitely a catalyst when you're working in programs and you're trying to drive a big change in the organization and human behavior. But I think you need to tend to it, and you need to deliberately feed it so that it's there when you need it, right? And you need the right conditions for it to succeed. I think one of the big things about our company is that we are customer service, and that means we're born from that. We're born from listening to customers, deeply understanding, trying to solve problems. And I know that we have many of our leaders who've come from agent to roles. And so that's inherent for me as part of our underlying culture and who we are. So when we look at AI adoption, we think from an empathy and a standpoint of listening. I think a big important pillar for us is to co-create. And we have a big drive to listen to employees, understand their needs, and then use that to make better experiences for them. I think it's important. Our company is kind of two houses. Some people might say we have this big operations kind of part of our company, which is, it's a train, it's a mill. It's like we're listening to customers, we're working, we've got metrics and all of these drives behind being and performing really well. And the other side is our kind of corporate side with the finance and HR and legal, marketing team, sales, and they have very different needs in some respects, but also the basic needs, the ones that help us to ignite them, the human needs, is that playful and that curiosity and those kind of things. So when we are looking at driving adoption, we need to listen to those different audiences and understand their needs, and kind of, we always do a big work around research. So we always, for the AI week, we did a pre-survey. We had last year's survey data. We had feedback forms, and also reaching out into the company, just asking people what they wanted and what they needed and where their barrier was. And through all of that, like qualitative and quantitative knowledge and research, we can then create a good program that markedly changes the narrative and gets people on board with these tools and platforms and starting to do things, right? So
you put put the person in the center, right, is what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. People are the most important part of our company, actually. And when we spend our time not just creating kind of top-down decisions and driving them down, but saying, hey, people, let's talk about this together. We want you to use these tools. How can we help you to do that? You're always going to be much stronger, and you're probably going to get a more sustainable adoption, not just a big kind of, jazzy event that just drives a baseline increase.
Yeah. I must say, just hearing you talk about what you do and about your company, you can tell you just got this sense of really pride in what you're all doing, the success that you've had. I mean, it really exudes from you. So that's fantastic. And I'm sure as you work with your teams, right, that comes across. I guess we talked a little bit when we were prepping for this, what your background was to get to this role. Like you did not have a typical, Chris, I don't know if typical career journeys exist anymore. I think we learned that we all jump kind of all over, but just share a little bit about how you got to this kind of role.
So yeah, you're right. It's definitely not been an A to B kind of journey. I think first up, when I was little, I had a diagnosis of dyslexia, and it not that it ever held me back, and I don't really see that as a negative thing, but it does give me a kind of ability to look at things in a way that is more systematic or slightly different to most people, a kind of way to analyze and understand the world, which led me to a degree in fine art, where I was really, and you think about it, it's design thinking, like trying to communicate, trying to find different and alternative ways to bring a message and to make people connect with you. So that degree in fine art is very intensive, actually. And when I finished, I was kind of like, oh, I need a minute. I need to go just have a job and not be creating in that way. So I took a role working in care, actually looking after autistic teenagers and young people. And again, I found this hugely rewarding, and there was so much to learn from them in, again, communicating, in not being able to communicate verbally, but then having this understanding of what their needs are and how to meet them and how to push them as well to move past what they feel as their limitation. And I think the only problem is I kind of cared a little bit too much, and I had to, after a while, take stock and be like, okay, this isn't going to be healthy as a long-term space. So again, I kind of, I feel like I went back to the drawing board maybe and just took a role just to pay some bills, working as an agent in this big BPO company, taking calls, again, communicating with customers, solving problems, those things that I love to do. This was tech support as well, so that kind of technology thing, which is, I've always had a very easy connection with technology. I can pick it up, I can play it, and I can teach other people how to do that as well, and translate between technical partners and human partners. Anyway, they're not, I mean, technical people are human too, but but I think, again, there's these underlying themes. And when we then had this huge explosion in our company called the MAX program, which was an employee experience co-creation transformation approach that was really unheard of for contact centers. When we had this as a call center mentality, you're in a chicken coop, you're a number, and this program said, well, hey, we want to solve our culture. And it came out into the company and said, what do you think? Right. And it was kind of refreshing. And I really connected with the team that were doing it. There was a number of different projects, programs that you could get involved in, one around communicating. That's where I leaned in. And for me, though, what was most inspiring about this idea was that research, that discovery, that listening carefully, understanding the problem, thinking about other ways that other people are solving it, and putting that all together, designing it, and then showcasing it with the people that gave you all that input, saying, look, is this right? Is this what's going to help? And now I just absolutely, anytime I've got to talk about that, I love to do it, because whether it's an intranet platform or driving AI adoption in the company, or even looking at how we hire people, or any part of that employee journey, those skills of discovery can really help to create much better experiences every time we lean on them. So yeah, there's my crazy journey to where.
That's amazing. Well, one, just a good example of how no matter where people are in their career journey, like you have the ability to move different places and always make sure you're doing something that means something to yourself and that you feel is the right thing for you. So that is a great example for everybody. But you also, as you were going through your journey, there was something, your empathy, listening, caring for people, how you help everyone around you, just succeed in their own path. Like that's a real trait that you're bringing. That's clearly been that common theme for you. And I wonder if just now, as you applied that in a corporate setting, right? Move from more of a, working with individuals in a social setting to a corporate setting. And now with the role that AI has, your engagement now with AI, do you feel or get a sense of the role that AI can play in that empathy that's so sorely needed across, not only in a corporate setting, but the art of the possible, that we could truly use this new amazing technology to enable or embetter everything that we're doing. But we have to do it smartly, right? That empathy is such a core component of that. Is that something you've been discovering and, figuring out how you weave that in?
I think we definitely have. And I say we because everybody has been talking about that this week, and we've had this great activation. But one of the message for our week was more energy for the moments that count, right? So what we've been discovering is when we give these AI tools to our agents in the contact center space and the corporate teams, it actually frees up more space for empathy and conversation with the customer, rather than doing the admin, writing your notes, like saying, here I am, Mr. Customer, I'm just going to write all of that down, can you hold a minute? Like, you can instead focus on the conversation, and you can focus on that interaction, focus on the empathy, and then that it kind of translates through all areas of the business, right? Even our coaches, as they have tools that help them to write their action plans, and they write their feedback to agents. That gives them more time for the conversation with the agent, for the coaching moment. And the same, it kind of goes across the business. I think in the corporate space where we work, and I'm sure not the only ones, but we have a lot of meetings, we have a lot of discussions in China, and sometimes we get kind of bogged down. We're like, too many meetings, not enough time to work. But again, with AI, you can have much more meaningful conversations. You can spend more time just talking with one another and have the recording, the transcribe option turned on. And then afterwards, you can give it to AI and say, okay, now help me write my project plan. Help me bring this in and that in. And with a good amount of context, of course, and that's really the key with AI, you can then build out of that conversation the next things in a very quick and swift way. Of course, you need to be very cautious and check what it's producing. You need to probe it. You need to ask it more questions. You need to help it to be clearer and also credible, of course. But in that instance there, where instead of kind of finishing the call, then you're writing your notes up, then you're in the plan, and you're building and creating the plan that you're going to follow. Again, that is the action plan, is not the work. The work is the output. So if you don't have to spend the time on the action plan, you don't have to spend the time on the meeting minutes, then you've got, the actual core designing and decisioning, and then there's doing, or the building or the contributing. There's more space for that within your day. And I think as we all get busier with work, I need more space and more time to do it. So this is where I see this amazing opportunity for AI to give us more space for critical connection with people, to do less administration work, which is always better. And I think igniting that imagination and playful space, I think is really super interesting right now. And I'm looking forward to seeing it grow and change how we work, really.
That's a really great way of looking at it, because, I think we get so bogged down on how it's going to, the role that AI needs to play, like from that technical side, and how we can help it do all this analysis and make us so much more productive. Like that seems to be the trend. But what you're saying is, yes, it's going to do that, but it's space to be a person again, right? I mean, we have gotten so focused on doing so much in our 8 hours a day, or whatever days that hours that we spend on working, that we tend to forget that the joy and the engagement with people is, when you think about our careers and we think about why we might stay where we work, why you've been in your role for so long, it's the people that we work with. It always seems like that's why we stay, right? It's that collaboration. And so you've got a very, I think, very optimistic view of how AI can play that role. And so I guess if you would look into the future and just see, what a fabulous day at work would be, like, do you have a vision of what that future work could be? I mean, so that we can kind of get our heads around that and say, yes, that's the goal. That's how I really want to utilize AI myself. Like, do you have a view of that?
Well, I think, for one, I think there's this interesting idea today, what I've been seeing this last week, when we've been getting people together and saying, hey, what have you been doing? Do you want to show some other people? And people are really like a little bit shy to start with, and then they start to show up. And by the end of the session, they're really talking confidently, and like, I've made this HTML page, and I've created this framework and this little thing, decision matrix, that means we speed this up, and all of that passion, and those kind of early adopters who are out there now shining and teaching other people to grow their own practice. I think that's so inspiring. That curiosity is being, it's almost like I feel it being ignited all over the company in just 1 week, because we put a little focus on it, And I think there's this thing with the future of work I keep playing around with individual and group contributions, right? I think one of the things I notice when you're working with AI, it tends to be you and AI, and you're having this dialogue, and let's change that, or double checking and questioning and all of that stuff to build something. And then I wonder, like, will there be a future where we do that as a group, maybe, and we start to create and build, so that it isn't just one person and the AI, but it's all these people and an AI. So I don't know how it will ever, I don't really see it like fully formed, but I do wonder, when it comes to ideation, whether there'll be some more inspiring things that we don't yet know. Because for sure, when we collaborate and we get together, and that's the thing I absolutely love about working in Foundever, is when we decide to do something, we go, hey, everybody, let's do this, and we innovate, and we just go try it out. Those are the moments that are really cool. But I think, how do we bring AI and that together to make this kind of future for work? But for one thing, absolutely certain to me is that AI really isn't going to replace humans, but it will bring more skills, more knowledge, and it'll give us these kind of superpowers. In fact, we had a guest speaker talking about that on Monday, and it really resonated with the teams. It's your superpowers, not you, not replacing you, because we still need to be the one to get it to make the connections and to give it the context. And that's when it produces its most amazing work, but through our lens, because we give it all of that, So maybe I feel a little optimistic. I'm sure someone
that's good.
Where's the doom and gloom of AI?
I think we need to look at that way. No, please go ahead.
We definitely need to be careful and mindful. And I think as we learn more about it, I'm seeing that other human practice of being safe and cautious coming alongside the inspiration and the drive and the design, right? But we will, I think, hopefully make the right choices in the end.
I think we will. And I like that, to have a superpower. It's a great way of looking at it. And I'm optimistic too. So I'm on that page. So, we have this way of connecting our guests, whereby our last guest, Anna Merker from BBC, she provided us a question for you during our last interview. And I'm going to read her question just to make sure I've got it all there. But she said, she asked, how are you using people and analytics, not just to inform leadership decisions, but to enable employees to make data-driven choices and to feel empowered in their roles? I really like that. Kind of like superpower, right? Empowered in their roles. So she feels it's really important to use data to empower people. So much more on the culture side. How are you using data around people and analytics to really enable and empower your staff?
Well, it's a great question. And I think a lot of organizations kind of have this a bit backwards. Data flows up, decisions come down. And when we do that, it's not necessarily empowerment, right? If we just say, hey, you need to do this, there's the data says you're not doing it, go do it. If that's all you've got in your toolbox for empowerment, then you're in trouble, I think. I do think as our company, specifically as a CX company, data is another part of our DNA. We measure everything, right? Sometimes I think probably too much. And the challenge has never really been collecting or showcasing data, but what's difficult is finding ways to translate that data into actions, into insights, and something that people can care about. And we have a number of things that we do. There's our Max annual survey. Actually, probably a little bit crazy. Most people think we are when I tell them, but we do run this internally. That is a cost-effective solution, but it also means we have a lot of secure networks that we need to work with. So one of the things that if we don't do that can exclude quite a lot of employees because they can't access the survey and take it, that kind of stuff. But our Max annual survey, we also have our Max Pulse. That's a daily listening tool. All employees over the world can fill it out and tell us how they're feeling. And we have some amazing stuff there where we've connected that to kind of trigger frameworks and to understanding what people are saying and helping our teams, again, with using AI to get on top of how their employees are feeling immediately, not like once a year where it's too late to solve it, but every day it's possible to see how your employees are feeling and how you can maybe jump in if you're seeing a negative or something coming up. And then, of course, we have all our qualitative research, our UX practices that we use for designing our products, for designing our experiences, whether that's research interviews or workshops or surveys or something we call walk-in management, which means getting our managers to sit with our frontline teams and listen to them. All of that data sits alongside our very operational data. especially in people, attrition statistics, throughput, training, higher rates, all of that stuff. So it's a huge amount of information. And where we need to work forwards is to find the ways to connect all of that into meaningful understanding to help us change the business. Now, we have a lot of these tools and we do put out insights from each of them. I think what we're trying to do now, and it's not finished, it's quite tough, is to find a way to stitch all of that data together to really help people see that experience and to be able to take those choices from it all. And I really believe that, again, with AI, we have an opportunity for it to help us, but still, even if you see the numbers are dropping, you can't, that doesn't solve why it's happening. And the only way to solve why it's happening is to talk to people and get behind them and understand the problem and listen really deeply to what they're telling you so that you can then make a change, right? So, and again, I can't say that we've solved it. We are working there and we're going
to. That's good. That's good. Well, that's great that we're all on that journey, and that sounds fantastic. So great answer. So our next guest is Nita Sardana from Innova Solutions, and she's the Vice President of Community Outreach and Corporate Giving, and she's co-founder and Chief Impact Officer for their foundation. So do you have a question that you'd like to ask her?
I have. So Nita, the breadth of what you support, from elderly communities, women's empowerment across cultures and continents. I think it's really awesome. I've been checking out your profile. And I think when my question is really, when you're deciding where to direct your energy and your foundation's resources, how do you make those choices? And I'm curious to know whether being a woman and whether that helps you to shape and choose your champions. And how you show up when you get there. So that's my question.
Very good question. Great. Well, hopefully you can listen in a couple of weeks. We'll have Nita on our show. So we'll bring Haley back.
What an inspiring conversation. I knew it was going to be. So thank you. I love the phrase, more energy for the moments that count. That's amazing. What a great idea. So good luck on the rest of your AI week. That was fun to learn about that. And thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome.
To hear from you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for being an inspiration to us. And your journey was really inspiring too. So I guess all of those who could listen and just, I'm sure there's ideas conjuring up inside what they could do next. So thank you so much for that.
Amazing.
All right. And everyone join us in a couple of weeks when we have Nita back with us to talk with her. So thank you all very much.